Hi, and welcome to episode 62 of Think Like a Hacker. It's the end of 2019 and the end of the first year of Think Like a Hacker. We thought it would be fun to look over some of the 61 episodes that we covered over 2019 and look at some of the highlights of some of the interviews and stories that we covered. We hope you enjoy this retrospective of year one of Think Like a Hacker. We'll have links to the actual episodes within the show notes if you'd like to dive deeper and look back at some of the highlights of our first year. Thanks and enjoy.
In 2012, went to WordCamp San Francisco, which was the precursor to WordCamp US, which everybody knows, and met huge numbers of people who really shaped my desire to be involved in this project. Like, when you first start using WordPress, you have no idea that this community exists in the way that it does, with all of these people who actively work on it, but also are trying so hard to take care of each other and make the right choices for the future of the open web and all this stuff. And so being able to meet all of these really interesting people who had these interesting philosophical ideas about technology and what you can do with it and how it can change the world, I was so motivated to get involved with the WordPress project at that point, because they just had such interesting ideas about how WordPress could be an agent of change for good in the world. And I mean, who could say no to that? It's so cool.
Are you guys able to have a culture being 100% remote? How do you interact? How do you collaborate? How do you have some kind of culture?
It's a challenge. I think having a small team means that the team has enough personality of its own that there isn't an overwhelming dominant company culture. Part of our DNA has always been we're flex time. You work whenever you want. You kind of have to report in when you're working. We've learned that we can't just say, yeah, do whatever you want. But it works for people across time zones. I think that there's some advantage to that in that it forces us to be more structured in terms of that classic, say what you're going to do, make a plan for it, and then do it. And if you're handing that work off to someone, make a plan first. You can't just always be responding in the moment, and everyone knows that's never the best way to do it, right? It's always better to make a plan, have a goal, execute the plan, validate the goal, look back. Those things, I think, are one of the advantages of remote teams, is it forces you into that more so than I'm in the office today. I used to work in an office, I get it. You show up for work and sometimes you're I don't know what I'm going to do today. I guess in a half hour or so, maybe I'll figure it out, or maybe by lunch or after I go to my coffee break. There's a far more need to establish and hold to that structure. But to the point of kind of company culture, we just like each other, have fun, like what we're doing. We love helping businesses with whatever they have, right? So I really have a soft spot for publishers. I think that's kind of the core of WordPress from where it came from. We do e-commerce, we do membership sites, we do lots of different things. But I have a soft spot for publishers and nonprofits too. And just anytime we can feel good about our clients, that kind of resonates.
I mean, not many people die on roller coasters.
Some do.
Some do.
Well, let me ask you this. Roller coaster or entrepreneurship, which is more scary?
Oh man, probably entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I think I might agree with that.
Because entrepreneurship is it can affect, your life. It is life altering,
Yeah.
And it can be for good,
Yeah. Also lasts a bit longer, doesn't it?
Lasts a bit longer. It's the longer roller coaster, And sometimes there's highs and lows as well, just like a roller coaster. But I think it's worth it, because this is one thing that I look at for myself, and this was one of the reasons why I didn't go pursue employment like I was working full-time at this marketing company. I didn't go look for another marketing company, or I was looking for it, but then eventually I made the decision, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to, pick up clients. The idea was character growth and growing as a person. That was the idea. It's if I work for somebody, I'm not going to learn new stuff. But if I work for myself, I might really crash and burn, but I'm gonna learn new stuff. I'm gonna be a different person. And so that was the idea of me going into this. Like, I'm going to either fly or like, I won't die from entrepreneurship.
I don't know, it's pretty tough. But yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, so that was the idea. It's like now and today, where I'm at, I know a whole slew of things I never knew. And I feel like I'm the better off for it, you know? And so I could pass it on to somebody as well.
I guess there's another thing going on here, and that is in the conversations that are happening online and in the sort of blog posts that these guys, that Pipdig are posting, they're going after Jem, but they're not going after us at all, are they, Mikey?
No, they have yet to publicly acknowledge that we even exist, despite everybody on Twitter going, hey, do you have anything to say about this specific post or any of these tweets about it? Just complete radio silence, and it is deafening. I mean, it's not that I really care that much that Jem is getting the attention on this necessarily, but we are a company that is built on a reputation for ethics and taking this kind of thing seriously. And I think that even Pipdig knows to try and claim directly that Wordfence is up to some ungood business. They know that they would get laughed out of the room for that. Whereas some blogger, as far as they're concerned, they can smear them left and right. But the reality of it is everybody can hear what they're not saying.
So the vulnerability database is basically a collection of vulnerabilities that affect WordPress core, WordPress plugins, and WordPress themes. So there's plenty of security researchers out there and black hat hackers who find vulnerabilities in core of the plugins and themes, and they release that information online. So what we do is we take that information and we put it in a core central place. We always reference the original researchers, and there's also many other vulnerability databases out there, but none that specifically center around, or not many that specifically center around WordPress itself. And we tie the vulnerabilities to the WordPress slug, so then it's easy for us to match that when we enumerate it within WP Scan.
Mm-hmm. So finding my biz BFF was the best thing that happened, because she and I valued our businesses over our feelings. So she would be like, stop it, Brandy, you're being insane, like, no, do this, or have somebody to celebrate with. So really, for anyone getting started out, but I think specifically when it comes to women and relationships, we can feel like not enough. We can feel like too competitive. So finding a community and someone to share that experience with is, I think, the game changer for any person who's trying to be in business. And embracing the community as not competitors, but really just people in the ring with you. Because I really believe in the abundance mindset, the idea that there's more than enough business for everyone. And finding the people who are like-minded and surrounding yourself with them really makes being in business worth being in business.
If we can get to a place where WordPress updates, core updates are signed with a key that is kept offline and secure by developers, I think that'd be amazing, because even if the WordPress.org infrastructure is compromised, the malicious actor can't put out a core update. And then, the best place we can get to is where we have this for plugins as well, which is, are of course chunks of PHP code that are developed by various people and distributed to WordPress sites, and those updates come out regularly. And just like core, any malicious code that's included in your plugin basically owns your site. And so, you want to know when those plugins have been compromised and when a malicious update is coming out. And I think they will get around to implementing this. It's just a matter of time.
Right.
And when they do implement it, what I'd also like to see is some accountability when it comes to changing ownership of plugins. Because in the case of Mason Soiza, what we saw was plugins changing hands, and the new owner was putting out malicious releases. And so, I'd like to see a policy implemented where if a plugin changes owners, new keys have to be generated. and some sort of procedure that essentially invalidates keys or provides some sort of alert or information to the site owners that this plugin is now owned by someone else, and the updates are coming from someone else, and you will be verifying your code as it comes from that new person, that new developer.
How open source works in general. When other users say, there's this one feature that you really need to implement, and I see it on your roadmap, and it just doesn't seem to have gotten attention. I can do that for you real quick, and somebody contributes the feature. Now all of a sudden we have some legs to run on to get that feature done more quickly. That's the beauty of open source. That's something that a proprietary software doesn't have. They don't have responsible disclosure because there's nothing to disclose, because nobody can see that the vulnerability is there, except for their own team. So they are kind of the security czars unto themselves. And if there's a vulnerability and then it actually gets exposed and users' data is released in that way, then it's 100% on that company alone, because they maybe did know and they didn't do anything about it. Open source is very different. We very much take responsibility for each other. We're looking out for each other, and it's all there for everybody to see. So it's not something that we're embarrassed or ashamed about.
That's great.
We're really proud of the way that we got to work together.
I think getting kids involved in things like WordCamp shows them an idea of what's possible for the future, right? What they could be a part of or what they can do, and it exposes them to a community of adults and other teenagers and kids that are supportive and encouraging. Like the number of people that have thanked them for being volunteers and have interacted with the teenage volunteers that we have with as much respect as they would have for an adult, I think gives them, like, they feel empowered, right? And it makes them feel really good, and it helps build confidence. Speaking at events and having people compliment her and say, you've done a really good job, or I learned something for your talk. I think one is inspiring for adults, but for her too, going back to school, it's helped her with her public speaking, with giving presentations at school. I think interacting with business folks and things at WordCamp and talking with people about her blog or learning about their business or even talking with sponsors inspired her to get involved in the Future Business Leaders of America Club on her campus. So I think the impact of being around a community of people that are excited to see you succeed and are really supporting other people is a really great thing. I wish more teenagers, more students, more college students would come and get involved and see there's a lot of opportunity here and there's a lot of support here.
So Yoast Academy is something I had a career in the university in teaching. So when I came to Yoast, I wanted to do something with that. And the plugin is very nice, but people need to know much more. So that's where we came up with, we need to make SEO courses. We did some in-house training, but that never really scaled. So we came up with the Academy. And we now have a real bunch of SEO courses, a lot. And we have 3 free courses. We just recently rolled out the WordPress for Beginners course. So that's not even about SEO. It's about WordPress and how to get started with WordPress. And that's going great, actually. And so we hope that more people get in to learn about WordPress and maybe then also learn about SEO.
But do you remember The Matrix? Everybody saw that movie, right? Neo? What did Neo do at the beginning? What was his job? He was a programmer, and he was a hacker. He had the mindset ready to look at the Matrix in a different way. All right, I might be a little bit cliche by saying that this whole world is a system that could be hackable, but you have to look at everything in your life. Not just your computer, not just your phone, not just your relationships, your mind. It's all hackable. It's all changeable. That's how we were born. We were born to look at things and feel things that we couldn't do and to think beyond that. Otherwise, would we run? We would have given up long ago. Innovation comes from seeing the challenges in your life. Those things that we talked about earlier, where I asked if everybody's got a little bit of something they're trying to work out. Those challenges are things that you can look at differently, and you can look at them differently today. You can start asking questions. What if? What if this happens? What if that happens? Thanks for watching episode 62 of Think Like a Hacker. And thanks for staying with us throughout 2019 and our first year of podcasting. We've gone through a number of changes, but wow, it's pretty amazing to get through 61 different episodes. We've learned a lot, and in 2020, we're going to change things up a little bit. So stay with us, subscribe, hit the bell icon, listen on your favorite device, and we look forward to seeing you in 2020. Thanks for watching and have great holidays. Bye.